Hey, Kinsey here at the Flocking Farm with my latest furniture flip. I really wanted to get my hands on an antique waterfall style flip, and in today's video that happens. Let's get into it.
Hey, I'm Kinsey. I'm a multi-passionate homesteader with a lot of ambitions. I like to talk a lot, and I'm a little goofy, but I really believe in intentional living and I love my family. This is our story at the Flocking Farm.
Seeing that mid-century modern is really trendy right now, and I have worked my butt off on this piece. This is another piece that was a learning one because there was a lot that I needed to do in order to try to keep the integrity of the original veneer. And so here is the whole process from beginning to end, as much as I could kind of record in between nap times, and the reveal. Let's get to it. Okay, so separate video, even though I'm doing this at the same time, because I haven't finished that nightstand, but by the time this video goes out, I will have finished that nightstand. But I'm working on it currently and I ran out of paint, so I was gonna start working on this, but first things first is that needs wood glue, and my husband has the clamps in his truck. So instead, we're gonna go ahead and try to disassemble this. I want to separate the end two pieces and make these matching end tables. I had originally wanted to do matching end tables and then convert this into a coffee table, but I think that's going to take a lot of construction because as I look at this middle section looks like it's mostly just nailed into the sides of these guys. So that would mean I need to construct an entire wall, an entire new back wall, as well as put in pieces for feet to mount to. I'm not saying it won't or that it's impossible, but I for sure am going to focus on the nightstand portions, and then we'll see if I can get a bonus like little end table, coffee table thing out of it as well. Here's the after. It's a couple days later because I got sidetracked. I'm totally scrapping the coffee table idea just because there was so much that needed to happen with that middle piece, but we do have our little side table pieces going on here. They're going to need a lot of love. Because unfortunately, we weren't just working with screws, we were working with wood glue. So as I'm taking the pieces apart, they tore off some pretty huge chunks of veneer. There's going to be quite a few holes to patch. Like some of this veneer I can glue back down, and I have like little syringes that I can do that with to get the wood glue all the way in the little crevices. But some of these bigger repairs, that's going to need a lot of Bondo. And then where some of this was notched in, that's going to need to be filled in with Bondo as well. So my next step here is these are going to get a thorough cleaning on these sides so that any dirt and grime I'm not driving into the veneer as I go to sand it down. Some of this needs to be a little smoothed out. My next step is going to be getting some wood glue in on some of this veneer that's peeling up a little bit. And then we'll go in with Bondo to fill in all these little cracks in the bigger pieces. Okay, so I have little syringes with needles on the edge so that I can get into those super tight spots with my wood glue. I have some tape to kind of help hold it in place. Okay, that worked really well. I'm gonna let this stuff dry for a little bit, and then we'll mix up some Bondo and get filling. I have my first coat of Bondo on some of this wood, and this is the moment where I was dive bombed by an actual hornet and then freaked out like a horse that was spooked by a plastic bag. But there's the culprit right there. The only part of summer I don't like. Some of this wood glue wasn't totally dry, and I filled up enough Bondo to pretty much do the large cracks on top, but not enough to do all of it. So I'm going to wait to do my second round of Bondo until this has had a significant amount of time to dry. But I'm going to leave that for now. My guess is my kiddos are going to wake up and need me before I'm able to touch this piece again. So while they're still sleeping, I'm going to be going to the tack store today to get some stuff for Contraband, my pony. And I need to measure him for a back cinch, so I'm going to do that
right now while the kids are still asleep, and then go inside and hang out with them, and then come back out and work on this later. So the gal's prices for back cinches were redonkulous, but I did end up finding this saddle pad that I am going to cut down to size and a fly mask for him. The second round of Bondo, and then I also noticed I hadn't put wood glue down here, so I put those down and clamped it down a little while ago. It's pretty much dry now. I need to do a third round of Bondo to fill in. Well, I do. Like, this needs to be built out a little bit. You can see here, I overworked the Bondo as it dried down. It got really uneven. That's the difference between a couple of seconds. Smoothed this one out, came over to smooth this one out, and it was already pretty much hardening. So it's okay, it'll still stand down fine. It's just going to be more of a pain to deal with. I think I'm finally done with the Bondo repairs on these sides. Most of the rest of the stuff is pretty minor. I do have wood Bondo coming that's in a wood tone so that I can stain it and try to match the veneer if that's what I end up using to fix it. See this chunk right here? This needs to be fixed. So I think my plan is to wood glue everything down, use the wood filler Bondo on top of here, and then try to blend in that Bondo with the actual veneer with furniture paint. Wow, don't those look so much better being sanded down? I found two little spots I forgot or missed, I guess, wood gluing. So those are clamped down right now. And then there's a little bit of, like, this could have used more Bondo here. There's a couple of those little things. There's also, I think, some, like, little pinholes, over here that I didn't fill, but that's okay. That's what the glazing putty is for some of that smaller stuff. Like, this is a little bit uneven. There wasn't enough Bondo there, but I will use the glazing putty for that. I learned my mistake from last time. I'm not going to do all of it and then prime. The stuff that I'm going to paint, I will prime first and then fill in with the glazing putty, because when you put primer on, it pulls out all those imperfections are way easier to see. Next step is to go ahead and clean these and then kind of get my eyeballs on the piece and figure out how I want to tackle it. So to wrap up for the day, Elisheva is awake, Enoch is awake from their naps. Leaving off with having removed all the hardware and everything having gotten a good clean. My wood glue on that is drying and everything is under cover because it looks like it could possibly rain, so I'm working on sanding this down, and I just have to keep reminding myself the finish is failing, so to do right by this piece, I do need to sand through the failing finish. But I'm so concerned about working on it because I am talented, gifted really, at blowing through veneer. And this veneer is so thin that I'm just scared to touch it, and I really want to do right by the piece. But that drawer front looks really good, so that encouraged me, and I started on this one. And I got the top done. I don't have anything really for this curve. Sorry, I was dyeing something. That's why my hands are red. So I'm going to go in and hand sand this just because I am so concerned about blowing through the veneer. But I was doing this with a 150 grit because I wanted to go lower than I thought I might need, just in case. I'd rather sand longer than blow through the veneer. So I'm going to come in here and hand sand. But that looks so much better than the one next to it. So I'm excited with how it's working. Okay, I'm looking at this piece, trying to figure out what I want to keep as wood, what I'm going to paint. And now I have a really crazy idea, and let me know if you think it's crazy. What if I like almost checkered this and did like I mixed types of stains on the drawers? Because you see how the veneer goes in two separate directions? What if I made like this side light, this side dark? This side light, this side dark, and then vice versa for over here. I kind of feel like it would be super unique if it was checkered. Am I doing too much? I mean, probably, but it could be really cool. Well, I'm taking a lunch break and having a protein shake, and I brought this in here so that I could sand while I
watch YouTube because I already worked my horse and the kiddos are still asleep. And for some reason I decided this needs to be raw wood too. So hand sanding we go. Okay, here is the next day. Here's where we're sitting. I got this taped off last night and I've got this sanded down and ready to tape off. I have one tiny little repair right here where the veneer was just peeling up a bit. So that's drying. I got this border taped off on top. So I need to do that on this side as well. And then everything has had a scuff sand except for the trim. So I'm going to go in and hand scuff sand this trim so that we're ready for a primer and paint. Also gone ahead and cut that area that had the damaged veneer out to see if I can cut a piece to fit that, and then I have less blending to do. So I have everything scuff sanded and taped off for painting. It's actually too hot out right now, I think, to paint. I don't think it would have time to self-level before it dries because it's like 88 degrees. Stuff moves over to the shade here, so I'm hoping this will be fine to go ahead and get a coat of primer on. And this is why we prime first, because I can see now all the little imperfections that need to be fixed. Needs quite a bit of work. Handy little friends. I think this piece looks like I just need to fill in the cracks. This looks like it's a piece of veneer that didn't get glued down properly. So I'm just going to pull this whole thing off and Bondo over it and call it good. Because I need to mix up Bondo for this over here anyways. That being way more veneer pulled off than I anticipated. And way more Bondo than I anticipated using as well. And it will probably need more. Am I Bondo happy? Probably. Probably. Is it frustrating the heck out of me? Absolutely it is. This side, though, I think this one only needs glazing putty. This one, why did all that veneer not glue down properly? I guess just didn't have enough pressure on it. I don't know. It's annoying. Okay, we'll let that sit for a little bit. Alright, that looks a lot better. I think I'm going to go ahead... Here, hold on. I think I'm going to go ahead and use that glazing putty for some of the smaller stuff that I can see here. Then everything will get another coat of primer on it after all the glazing putty has been sanded down on everything. And then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, got our final round of glazing putty and sanding done. Now I'm going to wipe these down and give them one more coat of primer. Here's the before. There's the after. Once this dries, I think we're ready for paint. To take this red glazing putty away from me because I can't stop using it. Tinkle! These have had a super fine sanding with a 320 grit to smooth out any bumps. And they've been wiped back, so now we go in with our paint. Okay, there she be. Good morning, good morning. I just realized that these end tables match my lipstick. I'm loving the color, however, it's hard to see on camera, but there is a lot of texturing and almost like splattering, I think, from the spray gun. It's not awful, but it's not as smooth as I would like it. Good morning! So I am going to come back in and do a very light sand on these, probably with like a 320 grit or something, just to even it out. I think what's going on is that my paint is too thick for the sprayer, so I need to water it down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and sand these down a little bit and then get another coat on once I dilute down the paint a bit. Yep, 320 grit seems appropriate. That did really well at smoothing this out, but not taking too much of the paint off. So they're looking much better after a second coat. I am noticing though with this particular paint, it applies way better when it is smoothed out, but the pigment is not nearly as strong, so I'm not getting as great of coverage. I'm hoping I have enough left to do like a touch-up third coat later once this is dry, and then we'll be ready for a top coat. I want to know how I'm doing. Not well. Not well is the answer. Why is this whole unit incredible? Practically flawless. But this side of this one, not only are there cracks, I don't know if you can see this on screen. Look at these cracks. Like the Bondo is sealing differently than the veneer did. And now I have cracks everywhere and veneer is pulling up. And like, what actually is going on? Do you see all of this? Respectfully, what the So this is currently where we're at. The curse of Bondo. Everything else came up except the areas that I did Bondo. Good morning. It is currently 5:30 in the morning. I have been up for an hour already. No, I'm not any more awake than when I first got up. But I have my coffee and I have a headlamp. So I'm gonna go outside because today is busy with horsey things. So I'm gonna go outside this morning and work on that stupid veneer. Here we go. Okay, she's done being sanded down. So now I actually have a smooth surface to work with. Though now I do need to... Shadows are tricky. I do need to go in with some type of grain filler because this is not going to seal smooth with all this grain. So I'm going to use my glazing putty to fill in all my grain. Glazing putty is on. You can actually kind of see what I'm doing now. And you can see how it really fills in that grain. So I'm going to let that dry down. Enoch is awake, so I'm going to go feed him back to sleep. Then come out here and work on this some more. She's been sanded down, so now I'm going to wipe her back and prime. Oh yeah, she's looking much better. So it's Monday and I got a coat of paint on this. The paint seems pretty thin though. It's not giving me very good coverage. So I'm going to thicken it up a little bit. This is looking good. It does look like it has a little bit of texture on it, but I'm wondering if it just needs paint in a different direction. So I'm going to try another coat of paint, and if that doesn't handle my texture issue, we'll go ahead and go in with that glazing putty again. I'm going to lightly sand the finished sides so they're ready for more paint while that's drying down. And you have a toddler that finds a spray bottle of water. So I'm going to let this dry and then sand it down. I let that dry down. I sanded it down where it was all uneven, and then I recoated it, and this is looking really good. I did have to thin my paint out again. I had added more paint to my sprayer, and this paint is a gorgeous color, but dang, it does not like to spray evenly. It really splatters, so it has to be watered down, and then the pigment isn't very good. So then it needs a lot more coats. It's a beautiful color, but this particular brand of paint does not seem to like to go in the sprayer very well. It's called Chalky Chicks, but it's the only one that I could find the color that I had in mind. I was looking for like a wine purple. I'm going to let that dry. This is probably going to get another 1 to 2 coats on it because I need to thin out the paint so much. But it'll probably get another coat on it, and then everything else will get another coat or 2. So everybody got scuff sanded, wiped back, and sprayed. This one looks done to me. It's ready for its sealant. My little treble end table over here. This is mostly done. There was a little bit of overspray up here where I have some texturing, and then on this side up top up here I have some texturing as well, so I'm going to lightly buff that out. Oh, and here too you can see the overspray here. So that, once this is fully dry, because I just finished, that's going to get some light buffing out, and then a super quick touch-up coat, and then everything will be ready for primer. Thank the good Lord Almighty. I'm really done painting this piece. But that said, I am really, really happy with how it's turning out. I am very, like I said, I have to be proud of the project. My rule is if I wouldn't give it to Jesus, I can't sell it. Little man is back outside helping us. I moved these guys back over. Final coat of paint is on. I dumped the rest of my paint back into the container, and I'm not washing this out because I've heard one of the best ways to get a super smooth top coat is to add some of the paint coloring that you're using to the top coat. So I just dumped everything back into the thing, but the remnants I'm going to use to tint my top coat. Friends, I thought, am I doing something wrong with my paint sprayer? I think it's just that type of paint in particular. because it's too thick to spray well, but then when you water it down, it loses a lot of its pigment. Because this top coat applied just beautifully. It was so smooth. I didn't have any hiccups with my sprayer. It was just delightful. So I think the paint itself is a beautiful color, but not a great paint if you prefer to use a sprayer. Gotten 2 coats of spray on them. I'm going to leave them to fully dry for like probably an hour. Come back with a super fine grit sandpaper because I did have a gust of wind, so I know there are little specks of things that got into that top coat. So I'll come in with a super fine grit sandpaper, buff the sides down, and then come in with a third and final top coat, then take off my tin and start working on the wood. 3/4 of the way done. This had some wind gusts on it and blow all sorts of stuff on the side, so I have to buff that out again and then redo this one side. But that being said, we're going to come over here for the moment of truth. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at that. That looks mighty fine. Mighty fine. Just beautifully. I'm working right now on taping off half of the drawers because I'm going to go for a two-tone effect. One side with a gel stain, and then the other side, we're just going to seal the natural wood as it is. Turned out pretty good on this one. So I've got these taped off, and I'm going to put my gel stain on, wipe back. The last coat of poly is on. I'm done with all the paint. It's still a little tacky, so I haven't taken off the tinfoil on that one yet. But I am going to go ahead and get these drawers done and then finish taking off the tinfoil and then assess what part of the wood is damaged that needs fixed. Oh yeah, it's looking good. This wood's really going to pop when I get it sealed too. So it looks like to me, the only thing I have left to do is patch the top here. And I see a little spot over here on the back here. So patch those 2 spots and then seal all of the wood features. Reattach the hardware, and then she's done. Aren't those pretty? Okay, so now we are also trying to tackle the hardware. I decided early on that I wasn't going to drill new hardboard holes because I was keeping the veneer on front. These look like they have maybe like a layer of paint on them. I'm going to boil these in water and then scrub them with Barkeepers Friend to see what's unveiling underneath. I guess these have kind of like a nice gold finish. This was the before. This is the after. Okay, so it turns out the veneer on the other areas was a different thickness and I couldn't get the grain to work with this. So I filled it in with the wood Bondo in these 2 places, and now I'm going to attempt to match the finish on this. I quickly realized these were going to be really hard to blend in without first sealing because the color changes when you seal. So I've got the first layer of polyurethane on, oil-based sealant, and it really brought out those natural wood tones. So I'm going to let these dry for like 3 to 4 hours, apply another coat, and then come in and start blending with my paints. Well, I mean, for never having repaired veneer before, I think that looks pretty darn good. I think so. Can barely even tell. Barely. So proud at how these came out. They were, like I said in the beginning, it was a labor of love and it was another learning piece, but I'm adding a lot of tools to my tool belt as I'm continuing to flip furniture. The only thing that I'll say is I'm getting a little discouraged with my area's market. These haven't sold yet, and I've priced them about as low as I can possibly stomach with how much work had to go into these and with the materials that I had to buy for them. So I am trying setting up an Etsy shop and offering free shipping throughout the US. That's gonna put these in a higher price bracket because I have to account for how much I'm gonna have to pay to ship them. But I'm hoping that broadens my audience and somebody buys something so that I can at least recuperate the material costs that I've put into this flipping project. So keep me in your prayers, and hopefully somebody finds these and falls in love with them and they get a new life in somebody's home. We'll see what the next furniture flip is going to be. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Here's to praying that something sells so that I can continue this hobby and actually make some money so that I can send my pony to a trainer. The initial goal was to send my pony to a trainer, but I believe that has changed. We have gotten a couple of rides on him. My girlfriend, who's very good at riding, has been putting the rides on because she's just better at communicating than I am. I've been getting riding lessons from her over the summer, but I am a novice. So she's put a couple of rides on him. My goal with this furniture flipping business now is I want to make enough to send myself to a clinic, take him with me, and then get myself some training. So here's to praying that something sells so that I can at least recuperate the costs that I put into this furniture flipping project, and then hopefully end up with a little bit of extra so that I can put it towards my winter hay and then eventually put it towards training for myself. All of that said, thank you for spending some time with me here today. You could have been anywhere and you chose to be here, and I see and appreciate you for that. Leave me a question down below. Let me know if you have any questions on the flip. You have content that you would like to see. If there's something you didn't like about this video, drop a comment down below. Let me know. Until next time, be blessed and shalom.